no shades today. I'm actually here to do something a bit more serious. If you saw by the title, I'm actually here to report about a news network that really shouldn't be called a news network. I'm of course talking about the disaster that is Fox News over in America. Now, if you have heard, Fox News released this big, full-color paper ad in a few of the major newspapers in America, saying how all the other major news networks like CNN, and MSNBC, and ABC, and NBC, and CBS missed this story. The story, of course, they're referring to is these big protests in Washington, D.C., these Tea Party protests, if you will. And unfortunately, of course, that's the biggest lie I've heard from this network this month. Because here's the thing. There's proof, of course, that CNN, of course, did do protests. I have seen footage of it. And I'm guaranteed that all of the news networks did at least cover the protests. In fact, one of the photos in that ad was taken from CNN Skycam. Bill O'Reilly showed clips of CNN reporting these protests. You know, there's a reason why 2 million people watch Fox News in America. It's because those people are too stupid to actually understand real news and can't think for themselves. I see Fox News as nothing more than propaganda and TMZ political style. Yes, I admit it. I am liberal. I'm about as liberal as you can get. But there's one thing I also like. I like debating. I like an intelligent political debate with my friends and my family. I have a good group of friends, very close friends, may I add, a few of them, who are right-wingers. They are to the right. And while most of them are intelligent, I have a few stupid people who actually believe that Obama was Kenyan and that kind of stuff. I tend to avoid those friends sometimes. I usually have good debates with people who are on to the right. I remember a few years ago that Fox News took time out to discuss the audacity of this Mass Effect video game scandal. That's right, Fox News took time out to report the audacity of an M-rated game having a sex scene. This isn't news. This is bullshit. You know, I've seen so much of Fox News' so-called fair and balanced news, and I can guarantee you that it's a lot of crap. It's propaganda. You're right. Fox News, no other news story covered the protests like you, because they were covering it like reporters. You were promoting it. You were claiming it to be the right way to go. Well, I can guarantee you that 8 years ago, during Bush's time in office, you would slam down a protest against the government as hateful speech. Hateful people who hate their country, hate the president. But of course, now that Barack Obama's in office, protesting's on the way to go. Protesters are true Americans against healthcare reform and taxing too much and overspending. Really? Overspending? Do you have any idea how much money has been spent on this war since 2001? Almost $1 trillion, $900 fucking billion, and here you are claiming about overspending now. Where were you 4 years ago when all this money was being flaunted away? 40% of the income tax, I can guarantee that's how much money is spent on the war. 40% of the income of federal taxes are spent on this war. And now you're protesting about overspending. Where were you 4 years ago, huh? Oh, that's right, you were sucking on George Bush's dick. You know, all this hate about public health care. Well, let me tell you something. Tell it from a guy who knows about health care. Public health care. I have lived in Australia for 21 years. I've lived here now all my life. My mother has been working in a hospital for almost 30 years as a speech therapist and a nurse. And I can guarantee you, without a shadow of doubt, that the Australian public healthcare system is one of the best in the world. It is a functional, great healthcare system that's going to be nothing but great service. And here's the thing, There's also a privatised healthcare system run by the government here in Australia, Medibank Private, and that works just as fine as well. Why are people being so angry about this healthcare reform? Why are people so frustrated about it? I can guarantee you that 99% of the people who protest healthcare reform in America have no idea what it's about. They haven't read it. Sure, it's 1,000 pages, but treat it like a Harry Potter book. Harry Potter on the healthcare reform. Fox News isn't news. Plain and simple. It's a propaganda network disguised as news. And I take it a bit too personally because the guy who owns Fox and News Corp, Rupert Murdoch, is Australian. And I'm ashamed to know him as an Australian man. Healthcare. If Australia can do public healthcare, as is New Zealand, France, Germany, Canada, if all those countries can do public healthcare and do it right, why can't the greatest country in the world, America, do it? Wouldn't America be probably the best country to actually have public healthcare system? Wouldn't it try to become the best in the world? Despite the fact the World Health Organization ranked it in the 30s in countries in the Middle East, next to countries in the Middle East like Saudi Arabia and that kind of stuff. Or some of the high-ranked countries are mostly in Europe. Why are people like Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly claiming that America's healthcare system is the greatest in the world, when it clearly isn't? And people like Glenn Beck, who I remember 16 months ago going on cam on YouTube claiming that the healthcare system in America was a nightmare. But now he's on a new network, being paid large amounts of money and claiming that America's healthcare system is the best. There's something wrong here. Cable news in itself needs to finally get some leveling. I don't want to have a right-wing network and a left-wing network. I want something centralized on cable. I want the NewsHour, the ethics of the NewsHour on PBS, to be brought over to the cable scene. That's pretty much the only unbiased news in the entire American airwaves. I want intelligent Republicans to be on the news, not propaganda people. Well, that's it for my rant. I've got something else to unflue, but that was pretty much my opinion, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.